Well, greetings to everyone at home. For me, this is a very exciting morning because we are hosting a rather important session of our recordings. My name is Pumza Gyane and I'm your host for today. We are talking about being on purpose and setting goals on purpose. So last week we did a recording about setting goals from a place of purpose. And I received a lot of responses from a couple of ladies. And I also spoke to the lady I'm hosting today, which I'm very excited about because she had the, particularly interesting responses that I thought resonated with the message. So today I'm hosting Priya Shukla. She's a colleague, she's a friend, and her background is she is a writer, she is a marketer, she is a motivator, she's a brand specialist. She's all things in one. And she's such a creative mind that I really love leaning onto for some of the ideas. So today we will talk particularly and try to scale down from the message of purpose. And we will be holding an interview. It won't be long, but we'll be talking deeper about living on purpose and really setting your intention from a place of purpose. Good morning, Priya, and lovely to have you on board.
Hi, Pumza. Thanks for letting me be part of your amazing series. I'm very honored, actually. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks thanks for taking on a call and just, running with it, because we just spoke about it and you are quite keen because you work in this space in any case. You are a motivator, you are a writer, you are multi-talented as a lady. But tell us a bit about yourself. Who is Priya? What excites Priya? What makes, Priya wake up and be inspired to do more?
Hi, Pumza.
Yes, I've got you. I can hear you now.
I'm so sorry, Pumza. I'm so sorry, but you seem to be stalling. Okay. So I don't know if you can just repeat what you said. Can you repeat what you've just said? I don't know if I've just missed it. We may have to edit these parts out, sorry.
Not a problem at all. So Priya, for me, I have this perspective of who Priya is, and I wanted you to tell us, in your own words, who is Priya? What inspires Priya? And what makes her, wake up and be inspired to do more?
Okay, that's a really good question. And I think if you asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have had a lot of trouble answering it. Simply because I was in the corporate space. I was in an agency for about 15 years, actually, an advertising agency. And for me, everything was about the work. Everything was about the job, If you're familiar with the agency life, it's not a 9-to-5 life. It's almost like a 24/7 life. And so my life revolved around that. And then I think I started reassessing myself and my values. And then I realized that actually I want to accomplish more, I want to achieve more, and I want to share more with the world. So it just made me come back to, what did I start with when I got out of school, when I got into tertiary, and then when I got into the workplace? Because I think we get completely confused, and then the pressure of all of the decisions we need to make us, go a certain way and then forget what we initially had dreamt, or whatever purposes we may have established very early on in our lives, and life makes it seem unrealistic. So once I got back down to the crux of it, I realized my purpose was to share myself with the world. And that sounds very vague and very esoteric sometimes, but it's simply what it is, because everything that I want to do filters into every aspect of my life. As a writer, I write about my experiences and my perceptions of the world, and also sharing others' perceptions of the world. As a marketer, I want to understand what you want to do for your business, how you want to make your dream come to life, and how I can help you do that. So I'm sharing myself, my knowledge in making that come to life. I spent the last year with an NGO, And that helped me understand a greater purpose in terms of how do we move our society forward to help others in the ways that we can help them. Because a lot of us sometimes feel helpless and we feel like the problems of the world are just too much and we can't all do anything, so we do nothing.
Wow.
And it made me think, okay, what can my contribution be in some small way? So I can plug into that whole concept of the NGO, helping others, helping the world, find a cause, and then basically apply myself. So that gave me a different perspective. And then also becoming a life motivator. And what does that mean? You know, what does it stand for? And that, I think, for me, is the greater purpose of all of these. It's a bigger culmination. And it's basically something I've been doing most of my life with my friends. And I never realized it until a friend came to me and said, you know, there's so many times I've spoken to you and it's helped me find clarity in my purpose or in what I want to do. And thank you for that. And I didn't need the acknowledgement so much as I needed to understand, oh, what is she talking about? What did I do? I was just being myself. I was just talking about my experience. Mm-hmm. And that gave me my biggest aha moment, that it's not about being something or being somebody else or becoming something else. It's just being your authentic self, sharing yourself within boundaries, of course, because we can go a bit crazy and we can get into trouble for ourselves, but just sharing ourselves in the most authentic way possible with the purpose of helping others understand themselves better. And that is my grand realization.
That is absolutely amazing. And it's such powerful statements that you're making, Priya. I have all the respect for, your realization. What I want to know though is, what was that turning point? What was that trigger for you that actually said, you know what, I'm not in the right space? Because you said, yes, when I was in school, I was very certain I knew what I wanted to achieve. And life happened and we got to corporate. What was that reminder? And what was that moment that actually compelled you to make a change about it and do something about it?
Okay, well, the thing is, we get lost. And I think a lot of people do not understand when I say the concept of being lost. We get lost in the world we live in. Each of us have different lives, whether it's in a corporate life, whether it's at school, whether we are studying at university. But we allow the life to encompass us as opposed to us letting it just go through us and us being a part of it, letting it be part of an experience, and us just picking and choosing the parts that we want to keep for us. We let it overwhelm us, really. And when I say that, I mean that sometimes it's easier to be led than to decide that I'm going to forge a path for myself and lead myself forward. I must apologize for the dogs in the background. I hope it's not. I think that's something we've got to accept in this new normal that we have.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I think, and this is something I said to a younger colleague of mine many years ago when she found herself very overwhelmed in the workplace. And these are the moments that made me realize I'm very much into mentorship and coaching, because I seem to be able to impart that feeling, experience, and that knowledge very easily. And I said to her, I said, for a very long time, I was very okay with being led to where I was going. So I entered the agency. I was a proofreader and copywriter. Then I was asked, can you take over the production department? Then I was asked, can you take over the client liaison department? From there, I went to being an account executive, then a senior account executive, then an account manager, senior account manager. It just kept on moving. And when I say I was okay with being led, I meant that every single thing that came my way, I looked at it as a challenge, that this is something I can do. I'm going to show them that I can do it. I can show myself that I'm going to do it. Of course, there's terror, there's fear, there's the uncertainty, because it may not sound like that now, but I come from a place of not enough. I grew up being driven, being very successful, but always having this feeling at the back of my mind that I wasn't enough. And for me, I was very lucky that feeling drove me more to be more, to do more. As a result, I had this very full life of work and other activities, but I wasn't fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So when I found that feeling that, okay, I've achieved this whole lot of success, but there's so much missing and I feel like I haven't accomplished anything. Mm-hmm. That's the time that I started reassessing my life.
You know, in conversations with friends, every time I talk on purpose, there's always a conflict in saying sometimes conflict is not aligned with commercial. So people get worried that if I leave a lucrative job and I start following the purpose, where do I then, get by? How do I get by? How do I get at least to be financially stable? Were those not the fears that you also had when you started moving into your purpose space?
There was a lot of fear because you must remember, I spent 15 years in an advertising agency, in the marketing, advertising world. So for me, I felt professionally, that's all I knew. And along the way, I'd lost parts of me that I know were very strong. And I knew before I even started my career that there were certain dreams I wanted to fulfill. But a lot of the time we told, that's an impossible dream, or that's an unrealistic dream, or that's something that you may want to do as a hobby, but don't expect it to become. Whenever I say the word become, I always go back to Michelle Obama, because we're constantly becoming something else. Yes. And the only difference is, sometimes we have to take that decision that we're going to be in the driving seat, deciding what we're becoming. Because for a long time we sitting in limbo, or we're sitting on the passenger seat, or we're sitting at the back, allowing others to decide what we're becoming. And so that is what I'm saying. I felt for a long time, and then I allowed people to lead me. But then when I realized, okay, I forgot about these dreams. I've reached a certain age, actually. I reached a certain age. Something triggered something in me. Two of my aunts were retiring in their careers. They'd reached 60 plus. And one was a professor at the university. One was executive at FNB. And it was time for them to retire. And they were so perplexed about what they were going to do with the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, wow, retirement. I've never thought of the concept of retirement. I've just been working and been driven to achieve and keep on succeeding, climbing that ladder, being something and becoming something, not even knowing what I was trying to become. And so when that happened, it created this trigger for me. And I think that was my awakening to myself, that I've been very successful here, but is this what I want for myself? Do I want to do this until I reach an age of supposed retirement, and then think to myself, now I'm going to start my journey of fulfillment for the other things that I had? And that was the breaking point for me, really. It was the beginning of the end of my traditional corporate career.
And then how is it panning out for Priya relative to what the corporate environment was? So if you're doing a contrast between the two, how are you showing up in your current within the purpose versus how you are showing up in a corporate environment?
Well, the thing is, when we decide that we want to make a decision, we're not always ready to execute that decision. So what that means is a lot of preparation. So when I decided that this was going to be the beginning of the end, it was actually 3 years before I actually left the agency. So it was a slow awakening and a slow, uncoupling from the agency. And it was a very conscious thing. So I've learned how to be very present and very aware of where I am at. And I think this is a very important lesson for anybody who's listening. Mm-hmm. Start practicing being aware and being present in every moment. It's a very difficult thing at the beginning, because we're so used to things happening around us and just not ignoring them. But what we don't realize is every single thing as related to us is a sign for us. When you're working a 16, 17, 18-hour day, which I have, and in an agency environment, you sometimes do a 24-hour cycle because deadlines are what they are, then those are also signs for you that, okay, this is not normal, because it's affecting my health, it's affecting my well-being. That's one thing. Then there's you have these moments, whether you have a family, you have children, and you have these moments of irritation or frustration that, they don't understand what I'm going through.
Yeah.
They are not appreciating what I'm doing for them. I'm working hard for them. And for me, that's a sign. Okay, I'm off balance here. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I've got to teach them, yes, to appreciate everything that I do in the grander scheme of things, that we're working together as a team, as a family, and the values that come with that. But the minute I start feeling frustrated and angry at somebody else, for me, it's a ding, ding, ding to say that, okay, something's off balance within you.
Yep.
What is that? And ask yourself, why am I feeling that way? So it's not to project and to blame somebody else for what I'm feeling. It's to ask myself why I'm feeling that. And we go back to lots of things we've heard where you don't give somebody else permission for the way you feel. You don't give somebody else permission for the way you feel.
Yeah.
You do not give them permission to tell you how to live your life. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I connect the two. When I start feeling all off and wondering, why haven't they said thank you? Why haven't they appreciated this? It's the little things. Then you start realizing. So that's what I'm saying. Be very aware of every single moment and look at them as not as things that, oh my God, I've got so much to work through. I'm so unbalanced. I'm so off. Acknowledge the fact that you actually notice this about yourself. And that's another lesson, acknowledgement. Acknowledge the wins in your life. This morning, I got up at 5. I was able to do 10 things before 6 o'clock. And then I could start my day with my kids. So I'm just giving you an example. I could meditate. I could do a run. I could, write down my gratitude journal, 5 things I'm grateful for. And those are important things because it sets the tone for your day. So at 6 o'clock, when your kids wake up and then you have to deal with them, imagine how you're going to feel. It changes the entire environment. It changes the dynamic of the day. Mm-hmm. So presence and awareness. So sorry, I digressed slightly there. But when I figured out that this is the thing that I needed to do, I started becoming aware of every single moment, taking note of how I felt in every moment. Mm-hmm. What did I like? What did I not like? What was I going to take with me and what was I going to leave? Mm-hmm. Because that's also very important. A lot of the time we have a tendency to complain about our bosses. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that there's a lot of things you're not going to like about the people you work for or the people you work with. But what you've got to ask yourself is, are there good things there? Are there good things that you can take from there and learn and use, incorporate in your life and your path your journey you're going to take forward? And what do you do about the things that you don't like? The things you don't like, you leave behind, and you also use as a lesson of what not to become.
Absolutely.
So those were my preparations for myself in terms of how do I move forward, my relationships, and it comes down to the relationship dynamic. Mm-hmm. So the thing that I like the most about the work that I did was the relationship building and helping people understand what they were doing and how much it made them happy. Because if you're a client and you've created this product and you want to sell it, what was the thing that made you happiest about creating this company or, creating this product? It's the product and whatever your purpose was there. I want to tap into that. I want to make you focus on being happy in that space, because the minute you start focusing on what I'm supposed to do for you, then it's going to annoy you because that's not your purpose. That's not what you're about. Mm-hmm. So it's very different. It's a very different approach to traditional marketing and advertising, as you would know, mm-hmm. but it's worked very well with me in terms of building relationships and understanding, because it comes from an authentic place. So mm-hmm. I always work with an authentic place and being transparent and honest with my relationships, whether it's with a colleague, with an employer, or with a client, or with a person on the street, just a smile, just asking them how they are, mm-hmm. and, what's their name? What do they do? We come from such a diverse country. We all have such amazingly beautiful names, and we have to try. We have to try.
Wow.
Sorry. Yeah.
Here you have amazing pearls of wisdom, actually, in all of what you are saying. There are really excerpts of, wisdom and that a person can actually build on. What I want to know, though, is we cannot walk away without talking about the pandemic and how the pandemic has affected our lives, and what are the positives that we can pick up from the pandemic. Because the main, I think, inspiration for the video was on the basis of saying, you start a year with so many uncertainties. There are many things that are unknown. And if there's anything that 2020 has taught us, is you don't have a guarantee of what can happen next. So when you're setting a purpose, when you're setting your goals going into the year, what are the considerations that one needs to have? And I guess from your life, they've been really empowered because you set them from a place of purpose. And I can see how you even dissect that to say, because of this purpose, this is how I will show up in my marketing engagement. This is how I will show up in that. For a person who's starting from scratch, and for a person who is going through a shock of their lives, and it's whether they understand their purpose or not, at this point in time, it's survival. What are the pearls of wisdom that we can give to them to say, look, purpose is still important, and this is what we would advise that you look at?
Okay. Well, it's very interesting because I left my previous career. I joke about it and say that I had a retirement, a soft retirement of sorts. And I think it's important to use certain words that give you that jarring, feeling that I've made this break or I've made this change. So you don't keep on confusing yourself that you're not making a change. So I think the one thing everybody's got to understand is that change is so important. I think this year, 2020, has taught us more than anything else that the concept of change is the only constant in our lives, but it's such a fluid concept that it can change form at any time. And it did that for us in March, April of 2020. What I would say is that I think a good question to ask yourself is, do you have any goals at all? Because I will tell you, and this may surprise you with all of the things that I'm saying, but before 2020, I never wrote my goals down on paper. I was existing. And that is what I would ask anybody to acknowledge first. Are you existing? Are you surviving? Or are you planning? Because the thing is, existing, surviving, planning are very completely different worlds. If you're planning, you have a place to start off with. If you're existing, you're coming from a place of pain. If you're surviving, you're coming from a place of pain. Because the reason why you're not allowing yourself to plan, to put goals down, is because you are going through something, or you've been through something that is giving you a feeling of, but what is the point? I can't see myself doing that. I don't see myself doing that. So I want to challenge that. I want to challenge you to think to yourself that, am I existing? Am I surviving? Am I planning? And if I'm in the first two, then how do I even start planning? And why is it so important? So you have to start with a piece of paper. You'll see there's a lot of writing there. You start with a piece of paper. And I will give you an even better idea. Get yourself a stack of Post-it notes in different colors and start writing little things. I want to wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Take that Post-it note, put it on your board. And then I want to do this. I want to achieve that. So you start small in terms of your day-to-day life. And then while you're practicing that, you've got to ask yourself, what are you grateful for in your life? Because the one thing I'm absolutely certain about, because it took me a very long time to understand this. We've been hearing Oprah talk about her gratitude journal for years, and it's never been more, accurate, true, and wonderful than it has been for me now. Where practice gratitude, because what happens is when the world is going to hell in a handbasket, otherwise known as COVID-19 pandemic 2020. Then you feel like you need something to hold you. You need a life raft. And what is that life raft? If you feel like you have nothing to be grateful for, then how do you find something to achieve, something to hold on to in the future? So you sit down and you literally write three things. Three things. It can be the most simplest thing. What is holding me down right now? Do I have a place to stay? Let's start with your basic needs. What do I have and what can I be grateful for? I have my family. Am I grateful for them? What do they do for me? What is my family to me? I have a house. Yes, I have a house. I may have to pay for the rent. I may have to pay for the bond, but I have a house. There are so many people that are struggling with homes. I have a car that is a luxury. I mean, every single time I step into my car, I sit in there and I just smile and think, wow, this is independence. And I achieved this. I earned this. So when you tell yourself you're grateful, the second step is also to acknowledge all of the things you've achieved in your life. What have you achieved? I achieved success in this, or I was able to change my thinking for this. It doesn't have to be a tangible thing. It can be something that you did, as opposed, I gave somebody 10 Rand at the line in the supermarket because I could see that they couldn't afford it. They had three things in their hand. They're counting the pennies in their hand. And I had a little more. I gave them 10 Rand more. Do small things. So when you start doing that, you start creating this feeling that I can do more for myself. I can achieve more. So you start with small things. And then when you start planning and setting your goals, think big. When you're writing those goals down, you're going to get this thought coming in your head. This lovely, annoying, constant thought telling you, who do you think you are that you're going to achieve those goals? Mm-hmm. You setting these goals for yourself that sound amazing. But who do you think you are? And the one thing you have to do when that question comes into your mind is say, you've got to decide how you want to speak to yourself. I'm amazing. I'm beautiful. I'm brilliant. I'm powerful. I am able to do everything I decide to do. I will always achieve my goals. Mm-hmm. And, things like that. So you've got to start talking to yourself differently. Mm-hmm. But then you make your list of goals and then you ask yourself, how do I start achieving them? And you start with small things. If I want to start creating work for myself, what are your skills? What are the skills that you can now start speaking to others about? Mm-hmm. In a time of COVID, people need a lot of things done. If mm-hmm. I'm a marketer, I will tell you that if you're able to sew, just that's the one skill you have and you've lost your job, but you're able to sew. So what can you do for others? What happened in COVID that really changed the landscape of things that we needed? Mm-hmm. The whole concept of frontline workers and things like that. I can sew. Oh, why don't I start sewing masks? Why don't I create a whole different range of these things? Mm-hmm. What can I do? But I'm not very good at selling stuff. So who can I partner with? Mm-hmm. You may have friends. You may have people in your life that are very good at this. Or you may have people just in your life that you can connect to and create a network. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you start with something small. Do it in your house. Do it in your home. I have a car. I don't have a job, but I need to feed my family. What is happening right now in this pandemic, in our first lockdown, and then now we're in lockdown 3 again? People are afraid to leave their houses. Mm. What is it I can do that can perform a service? I can do deliveries. I can now connect with certain supermarkets little supermarkets in little communities that don't have the infrastructure of the Ubers and the, I don't know what the other delivery places are, the delivery, the Mr. D and all of that stuff. I don't have that infrastructure in my community. I'm going to create that. Do I have some friends that are also having that problem? They have a vehicle or they have access to a vehicle, but they don't know what to do. Let's create this delivery service. Let's connect people. Let's see, there may be old people at home that need deliveries and can't leave home. They don't have children. They don't have young neighbors. Let's be the people there. So in a way, you are answering a problem and you are also creating an income for yourself and you are also doing a service for your community. So there's so many different ways to think about this. I don't know if that helps end up what you're looking at.
I think what is powerful for me in all of what you're saying is it's stemming from the essence of what you said when you started. Your key notes when you started were, my purpose is to say, how can I share myself with others? In how you're building just the concept of a business right now is being so you are so aware and so attuned to what struggles people are going through. And I think it lit up something for me as well, because I then had a sort of a aha moment where I also went back in my life and I said, and I think it just came up as you speaking, that actually what gives me the drive is to really see how women can unleash their power. So I love, because we spoke about this yesterday, and you were saying, Pumza, I've been wanting to do ABCD. I like what you're doing because now it's pushing me to get into the space I wanted to be. And for me, it was so for me, it was, and I think as you're speaking, it just took me back, and I said, I grew up with an uncle that believed so much in me. He was the foundation of my life, and he was the uncle that helped me with homework, and he instilled that sense of like confidence of saying, Pumza, you can do anything. There's nothing that you can't do. And I sort of grew up with that, and it actually is such an amazing thing right now, because you come across women who are so gifted, so talented, but are not ready to put themselves out there. They're like, they're scared of, what is the response going to be? What are the people going to say, and so on. And because I moved from that premise of saying, I've been taught that there's absolutely nothing I can't do. So even if you start small, so I'm hearing such pearls of wisdom in what you're saying, because some people are stuck and they're saying, I don't know what I can do. And yet you're breaking it down in simplistic things of saying, purpose. What is Priya about? Priya is about sharing herself with people. What does she have now? She has a car. So people are struggling with ABC. And there's such a power in going back to purpose, because when we're wanting to start businesses, we tend to look at other things. We tend to look at what other people are doing, and we never take it back to what is Priya about. I want to find out then from you, Priya, do you have an instant in your mind where you can think that this is what actually inspired Priya to want to share herself with other people? Where does this thing come from? Because it is so consistent in the thread of the conversation that we're having. It's in every line that you're saying, the sharing of myself with you. What is your purpose when I'm doing marketing for you? How can I help you to get to that? Where is this coming from? Priya?
Pumza, I have thought about it, because if there's one thing I think I've been accused of my entire life is of overthinking. Thinking about a lot of things. My mom's, I have that as a strength, because instead of just thinking with the is ever wasted, because this, your mind is, it's this beautiful complex, and it's like catching fire. That's that phrase, but can you actually catch fire? But when you feel like you have caught it, then you feel like you've got lightning in a bottle. So for me, I have those moments constantly. When I was growing up, I've always felt like I wanted to do something for others. And I've watched my mom, my dad, my grandmother, and I think that's what it comes from. I've watched them do things for others. And as I've grown up, I've always wanted to do something for people the way I could do it. Not in the traditional sense of, okay, when we're growing up, you must wash, you must clean, you must do this, you must do that, you must learn how to sew, you must, I think when we grow up in a certain generation with a certain generation, they feel you need to know how to do all of these things to take care of your husband, your family, and all of that. But for me, it was a case of, even if I had to buy a chocolate and give it to somebody because I knew they liked the chocolate and they weren't looking too happy, how do I put that smile on their face? Or how do I can see this group of people in the office and they're working so hard, their heads are not looking up. And I can see that they're also a little sad. How can I make them happy? just buy a whole bunch of sweets and call them out and throw it out to them in the office. So it's little things. The two concepts there, the two similarities there you'll realize is the sweets, which I love and are very bad for me, but it makes people happy. So for me, it started out with what makes people happy, and when I'm able to make them happy in a little way, I don't go overboard with this. I don't put myself out there in a way where I hurt myself. I have boundaries with this. But I know for myself, I've understood for myself, and I find this extremely, I'm really grateful for this, because I think a lot of people go through life is starting to resent themselves for this, where I've realized that when I make somebody happy, I feel happy. And if I can do a small thing to help you find something or find your purpose. So it evolved from giving you a chocolate to make you smile to how do I help you understand what's so wonderful about you that you can change this world. And that's what it comes to. I told you the other day, my purpose is to share myself through my gifts of kindness and courage to empower others. That is my purpose. And when you understand that purpose in every sphere of your life, I think I broke it down for you. I do it in everything that I do. It's not always a conscious thing, but when you realize that that's your purpose, you don't always have to be conscious of it. The greatest gift is when that conscious purpose becomes your unconscious action. So that is what's become for me. So it's been a journey. It starts with a very small. If you see your child wanting to be kind and share themselves with others, give somebody something, they come home and say, Mom, this child was unhappy at school today. Can I take this for them? Some mothers are like, but why? Their mother can do that for them. Why should you do that? Mm-hmm. Instead, I think to yourself, wow, my child is so has empathy at this age, whatever age that is. I must encourage this, but I also have to teach them the boundaries of that you can't give to the world unless, of course, you just Jeff Bezos. But how can I give to the world while keeping my boundaries intact? So yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Priya, we could go on and on and on.
We really could.
What I note with you is beyond the giving, you're also a conversationalist. You're very good at conversations. Yeah. You can stretch something and you can it just grows and multiplies.
Yeah.
What I want to know though now is Priya is, she wants to inspire people. She wants to motivate people. Where do we find you? Because now everyone would have listened and they would like, oh my God, I want to have a bit of that every day. And they don't realize that Priya is available on LinkedIn. She posts every day, such amazing posts of inspiration. Where do they find you?
Well, on LinkedIn, you can find me as Priya Shukla, the writer, the brand specialist, the life motivator. I've got an Instagram account, and I've also got a website. So my website is www.shrichakra.co.za, and my Instagram account is Shri Chakra. So what I can do is I can send those to you, Pumza, so that you can put it on your pages as well. Wonderful. But just so you know, the word Shri Chakra, those are Hindi words, because I come from a Hindi background. But what they mean is prosperity. So you see how I try to link everything back to my authentic purpose of sharing.
Absolutely. And isn't that what everyone is looking for anyway in 2021? A bit of
prosperity.
Absolutely. Priya, this was amazing for me. I could go on and on and on, but I don't want us to move from the perspective of purpose. I'm sure we're going to run a lot of these things, of these sessions, because we're always in touch. We always are those balls of energy that just carry on doing. I'd like to thank you really for just giving this a chance and say, I'll do it. I'll share myself and I'll just put myself out there. Thank you very much. And thank you for showing up in your authentic self as well.
I appreciate you, Pumza. I thank you for taking this initiative, for putting yourself out there. As I told you in our conversation before, I really admire what you've done with yourself and your brand. I've seen the evolution, firsthand. I've had a front seat view, and I love what you are doing in terms of defining very clearly your path and what you want to achieve. So as I said to you, energy attracts energy. And you and I collided in a very nice way because we were on the same path. So thank you for including me on your journey.
Thank you so much, Priya.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks. Take care. Okay, bye-bye.